Hello, everyone. I'm Tanya Rivera. Rena Ninen will join me in just a moment. Vice President Mike Pence says the United States and Turkey have reached a deal on a 5-day ceasefire in Syria. President Trump sent Pence and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to broker a peace agreement with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in exchange for stopping attacks on the Kurds in the region. Sanctions on Turkey would be lifted. A permanent ceasefire would be worked on later with the withdrawal of Kurdish forces. At a press conference, Pence said the two sides got the job done.
We think the agreement today first ends the violence, which is what President Trump sent us here to do. I said it again and again to President Erdogan. President Trump sent us here to end the violence and to achieve an immediate ceasefire. Thanks to the agreement that we negotiated today and the strong stand that President Trump took in the preceding days, we've achieved that.
Mr. Trump touted the success of the meeting earlier today. He expressed gratitude to Turkey and said all sides are, quote, very happy with the outcome.
This is an incredible outcome. This outcome is something they've been trying to get for 10 years, everybody, and they couldn't get it. Other administrations, and they never would have been able to get it unless you went somewhat unconventional. I guess I'm an unconventional person. I took a lot of heat from a lot of people, even some of the people in my own party, but they were there. In the end, they were there. They're all there. Look, this is about the nation. I just want to thank and congratulate, though, President Erdogan. He's a friend of mine, and I'm glad we didn't have a problem because, frankly, he's a hell of a leader, and he's a tough man. He's a strong man. And he did the right thing, and I really appreciate it, and I will appreciate it in the future.
I want to bring in Jill Colvin now. She's a White House reporter for the Associated Press and is traveling with the president in Texas. Hi, Jill. Thank you so much for joining us. What more can you tell us about this deal?
Well, obviously, you heard the president there. You know, when we landed in Fort Worth, the president came and spoke to the pool, answered some questions about the deal, was really trying to spin this as a win for everybody involved, said that Turkey, the U.S., the Kurds are happy about it, said that civilization should be happy about this. But a lot of the details of this are still a little bit unclear. You know, we know that they agreed to this 5-day ceasefire, and the plan that they've announced is for all of the Kurds to be moved out of this area, this 20-mile or so area on the border between Turkey and Syria. And at that point, it sounds like the plan is basically what Turkey has been asking for this whole time, which is control of what they're describing as a safe zone. It doesn't sound right now like Turkey's military will be required to move their troops from the area. It's also unclear at this point whether the Kurds are on board with this plan. The president insisted they were, but this was something, this kind of the format of this deal is something that they had been opposed to in the past. So there are a lot of questions now that remain, including whether the president sort of gave in to what Turkey wanted here, and also questions about, you know, whether, you know, as part of this deal, the president said that all of the sanctions will be lifted, the sanctions that he announced yesterday. And so the question then is, well, will Turkey pay any price at all for the violence, for the incursion that we've seen over the last number of days?
Right. Is this addressing at all what's happened rather than what's going to happen? All right. So, Jill, we have heard lawmakers on both sides of the aisle criticize the president for this decision to pull troops out of Syria, including some of his staunchest allies. Does this help him save face?
You know, we haven't seen a lot of reaction yet. You obviously had people like Lindsey Graham, one of the president's strongest backers in the Senate, who was enraged by the president's decision to withdraw U.S. troops from northeast Syria, the action that then led to Turkey's incursion. And they had been interested in Congress and in putting their own additional sanctions on Turkey. This gives the president an out here. Look, this is a very vulnerable time for the president. You know, as he goes through this impeachment inquiry, the White House really needs all the Republican support that it can get. And this, if it goes, I think, as the president would like it to, does give give the president an out, an ability to say, look, I was the hero here. I negotiated the ceasefire. There will be no more, images of carnage. The Kurds will be safe. These American allies of ours, even the president has talked about them as not being angels in the last couple of days. At least he can say, look, they're safe. The U.S. is doing its duty in protecting these fighters who fought alongside us against the Islamic State group for so long, and maybe that'll be enough to kind of roll back some of that anger in Congress, which we saw expressed yesterday with a resolution in the House that received overwhelming Republican support in addition to Democratic support.
Right, and that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi described as angering the president, the fact that that vote was taken and passed with such a high number. Well, Jill Colvin, who is traveling with the president in Texas, we thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.